The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Rudy's Revelation.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
You can't handle the truth.
Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. Happy Friday, it is Friday, February 21st. Welcome to today's episode. So we have good news. Kash Patel has been confirmed as the new director of the FBI. We're going to see how the Empire Strikes Back. Let's get into the news for today, Friday, February 21st. All right, we're going to start off with Kash Patel. Reuters. U.S. Senate confirms firebrand Kash Patel as Trump's FBI chief. Today, also in the news by the Post-Millennial, FBI arrests 2 teens for school massacre plot involving pipe bombs killing students with firearms in Houston. The 2 female suspects, aged 15 and 16, were apprehended on Tuesday following a joint operation by the FBI, Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, and the Spring Branch Police Department. So, the day that Kash Patel is confirmed as director of the FBI are involved in arrests before 2 teens were supposed to conduct a school massacre with pipe bombs. Where have we heard this before? So this is like an FBI plan. Mind control 2 teenage young people to commit violence. More news coming up. One American News, CPAC, Musk joyfully wields his gifted chainsaw along with Argentinian President Javier Milei. So in CPAC recently, Elon Musk was there with Javier Milei, who is the architect for basically what Doge is doing right now, if people didn't know. In Argentina, where Javier Milei is president, he is a libertarian economist. He slashed the government to undo 3-digit inflation. Also in the news, Reuters, IRS fires 6,000 employees as Trump slashes U.S. government. Also a big story coming up. One American News, Lee Zeldin, $2 billion in stashed government funds discovered, earmarked for Stacey Abrams-linked left-wing group. Going back to the story, Lee Zeldin, the new administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, discovered $2 billion in government funds allocated to a nonprofit organization connected to a failed Georgia Democratic gubernatorial candidate, Stacey Abrams, with the help of the Department of Government Efficiency. So that's Elon Musk's group, Doge. The story goes also on to say in April 2024, the organization Power Forward Communities, which Abrams founded, received a grant from the Biden administration's Environmental Protection Agency, which Lee Zeldin now is a head of, as part of the agency's greenhouse gas reduction initiative. Despite being established months earlier in late 2023 and never managing to reach its grant's monetary amount, its most recent tax filings show that it made only $100 in total income in the first 3 months of the operation. Power Forward Communities was awarded the Green Energy Grant during the Biden administration, and it was awarded in this push to spend money in the last months of his term during his lame duck period. And according to Kevin Hassett, that was the most dangerous period for inflation. So basically, the inflation that's going to occur can be directly attributed to the Biden spending, including this $2 billion that they're going to hope to claw back. The grant allotted to Power Forward Communities, that's Stacey Abrams' group, was one of just 8 grants totaling $20 billion awarded by the EPA in April 2024. Okay, so it wasn't necessarily lame duck, but it was in 2024. So, and this was all part of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Act, which was the Green New Deal. The federal government's oversight of the program was limited when Trump's appointed EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced on February 13th that his staff and the the Department of Government Efficiency officials found that Biden administration had parked that same $20 billion at an outside financial institution prior to his departure. So that means he spent the money, and that's going to attribute to inflation. They're going to try to claw back the money, but this has gone to a group that never had a budget, never raised money, didn't do anything, and it was just awarded $20 billion. Its only notable aspect of this NGO was that it was connected with Stacey Abrams. More in the news, we talked about this yesterday in Foreign Policy and in episode 106 of Tuesdays with Perry. Zelensky's friend list dwindling in the Trump White House as peace talk tensions escalate. Best case is that he leaves to France immediately. This is according to an unnamed source in the Trump administration. So Zelensky tried to go toe-to-toe with Trump and was beaten down verbally. We know all the powers in the hands of the United States, so it's going to be easy, not that easy, but fairly easy to wield a deal without including Zelensky. One America News is reporting Yale scientists identify new syndrome linked to COVID-19 vaccines showing distinct biological changes to one's body. This is from the report, the Yale report. From participants' blood samples, the researchers looked for immune features that were different between the two groups, and that's the control group and the other group and the experimental group. They found several differences in immune cell populations with PVS, which is the vaccine, had lower levels of the effector CD4 plus T cells and higher levels of TNF alpha cells, CD8 T cells. Both are types of white blood cells, among other differences, according to Yale's news outlet. What was surprising to find spike protein in circulation at such a late time point. Kawasaki, I guess this guy with the study at Yale, said, "We don't know if the level of spike protein is causing the chronic symptoms. It is. We know that. It's not only that, it's the reason it's in there so long in the body is it's self-replicating. But they don't even refer to that. So this is kind of like a red herring. Except for the fact that it's not a red herring because it's the spike protein that causes the illness. Because there were other participants with PVS who didn't have any of the measurable spike protein, but it could be one mechanism underlying the syndrome. So they're trying to soft play it, saying that, it could be. That was like glyphosate. It could be a carcinogen, a possible carcinogen, but we're not calling it a carcinogen. And Just the News has the same story. Yale research validates spike protein persistence from COVID vaccines as injury visibility rises. And they're just trying to get out in front of RFK Jr., busting the doors open. So they're doing these releases of information, things they already knew, to try to soft play it. So it could be part of the spike. We're looking into it. There could be something there. We're not sure though. So if you still think Trump is a racist, Trump celebrated Black History Month with Tiger Woods. Announces Kobe Bryant statue in National Garden of American Heroes. Well, that's pretty significant. Kobe Bryant, though, he died in a helicopter crash, right? He was a great player, but. Washington Times is reporting, I want to find out. Trump says he's going to personally inspect the gold at Fort Knox. Good. All the audits are good. The Fed should be audited, for sure. The Pentagon, obviously, that's going to happen. So my worry is starting to become, though, is this going to be the first, last, and only? You know what I mean? The Congress should codify Doge, particularly, and also it'll be harder for the Democrats to unwind that if it's legislated. And we're going to get into the legislation, the current legislation, in just a second. But first, more Trump. The Wall Street Journal is reporting Trump is planning to take control of the Postal Service. Officials say president seeks to disband governing board and put Postal Service under the Commerce Department, which is good. I mean, it's a revenue generating business. So it should become more competitive and run like a business and all these things. But of course, the government never is. I think this is a good idea for sure. Here's a businessman taking over. If you know the financial history of the post office, it's abysmal. So he's going to take it over and turn it into something good, preferably. Or get rid of it. Just the News is reporting Trump pushes for balanced federal budget, a potentially historic feat, while Bill Clinton balanced the budget. So people have been putting the Clinton administration in the news a lot lately and comparing it to what's happening now. Look at what Gore and Bill Clinton did. They did similar. They did a lot of budget cuts because that's what the electorate wanted. And there was that famous appearance of Al Gore on the show with David Letterman, and he was breaking glass ashtrays with goggles on to try to demonstrate that supposedly they're paying for shatterproof ashtrays, but they weren't. So they were paying $1,000 for a glass ashtray. Another story from Just the News. Trump subjugates old guard Senate, elevates MAGA House supporters in strategic reordering. This is correct. This article from John Solomon's outfit, Just the News, that MAGA has taken over the House and has barely got their foot in the door in the Senate, but they don't control the Senate completely yet. And so this is the establishment's last stand, is the Republican Senate. Mark my word. So they're trying to get out ahead of things, and I'm going to go to that right now. The Senate is going to try to get ahead of the House, which is MAGA, and the old guard, including Mitch McConnell, are trying to deliver, and Lindsey Graham are trying to deliver this bill that excludes middle-class tax cuts, particularly the taxes on removing taxes on Social Security and tips. And Fox News is reporting Senate delivers on Trump's agenda after overnight vote-a-rama. Well, that's exactly what it is. So the Senate, the establishment, rushed through their bill proposal, which I think is just border and defense spending. So this is the military-industrial complex last stand while they still have control of the Republican Senate. So they push in this vote, which is just border and military, and we have to wait for the tax cuts. I think it should be the exact opposite, and I think that's why they're doing it. So I bet you, I haven't seen the House bill yet, but apparently the House bill is just the opposite. Why can't we have two bills? I just don't understand. It's like, oh, we got to do this or that. There have been proposals for a bill for each item. In any case, all this winning seems to be scaring everyone out. I was texting Perry last night and I said, run, fuckers, run. And he said, the rats are leaving the sinking ship. And the New Republic reports Americans are heading for the exits. Go ahead and roll your eyes at those who want to emigrate amid Trump's second term, but it's a worrying trend. So Perry said, the rats are leaving the sinking ship. And I said, they're not. The rats are leaving the buoyant ship, the ship that has been saved from being sunk and is turning around and heading for dry dock. And that's exactly what's happening. So the rats are leaving the repaired ship. And now we're heading back into a place of support now that the cabinet members, the leaders have all been picked and confirmed. Now we're going to take the ship of state, so to speak, into dry dock. And we're going to start ripping off pieces and looking underneath and seeing what the problem is, what the rot. And the rot starts with the Washington Post. Many of Trump's early actions are unpopular. Post Ipsos poll finds. Now, there's a lot of people quoting this Washington Post Ipsos poll, but it's wrong. Not only is it wrong, it's blatantly wrong. But again, they always take the margin of error, the MOE, and take it away from Trump. Instead of putting it with Trump, which would have given you accurate polls during the election, they take it away from Trump. They don't necessarily give it to their side. They just take it away. And so it makes it look like in the presidential election more even. And in this case, you're taking a Trump approval rating from, let's say, 53, you take it down 5 points to about 48. Even though they might say the MOE is 3%. And on the Republican side, this is Mediaite, House Republican says Trump's executive orders are getting out of control. Are they now? And we had some reports of Lindsey Graham and Tom Cotton also worried about an NGO they were involved with, the Republican Institute or something like that, that was given billions of dollars by USAID. They're worried too. So the point is, most people in the electorate are cheering it on. Now, the ramifications of Doge, we'll have to see, to be sure. So who is this Republican? The Representative Troy Balderson, Republican of Ohio, said some of President Donald Trump's executive orders have gone too far by usurping the authority of Congress. So a congressman says, you're taking away our power. That's not really objective. Goes on to say, since taking office a month ago, the Republican, for the second time, Trump has issued a spat of executive orders, some of which are potentially illegal, says Mediaite. Dems fighting words. A particular concern are the Department of Government Efficiency, led by billionaire Republican donor Elon Musk. Billionaire Republican donor. And Elon Musk is giving money to the Supreme Court fight in Wisconsin. Dems are the rules, which basically means it's not illegal. So, along with a group of young staffers, Musk has fired scores of federal employees and frozen funds, which have been appropriated by Congress. So, Balderson said they're getting out of control. Congress has to decide. No. Congress doesn't get to. Congress appropriates money. They think they get to spend it, but executive. So who executes policy? Congress. The executive executes policy. So you appropriate the money, and I'd even say, if you want to be fair, you put that in a fund. All right, whatever the specific purpose it was allocated for, you put it in a fund. And then the executive decides how it's doled out. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to go off on tangents here. Market Watch is reporting, stay with me, why Walmart warning they have more to do with weight loss drugs than tariffs. So if you didn't hear about this, Walmart, I didn't go over the story yesterday because the story got lost in transit. But there was a New York Times story talking about the economy and specifically talking about Walmart's recent warning that we're heading into financial catastrophe, of course, because of Trump. But the reality is, and tariffs, and I'm going to get to that in just a second, but the tariffs that Trump are going to put in is particularly affecting China right off the bat. So where do all the Walmart crappy clothes and all the junk they sell at Walmart, where is that made? Mostly in China. So if you don't know anything about the Walton or the Walton family, they're ruthless business people. They're up there with like George Soros. And for all you liberals out there, they were the ones that were responsible for the garment fires in Bangladesh that killed lots of people. It was like, much like the shirtwaist fire in the United States, where in Bangladesh they locked all the doors to keep people from taking breaks. And then there was a fire and everybody died. So the story goes on to say, Walmart stock dives as quarterly earnings are expected to decline for the first time in 3 years, with strength in groceries and GLP-1 drugs. Sales continue to pressure margins, which is like, that was a disclaimer. The reality is Walmart, because of the tariffs, it's less about GLP-1 drugs and groceries as much as it is tariffs against China, and that's where Walmart gets all their crap. A little too long on that story. Just the News is reporting Senate passes 2025 budget resolution. House to vote on his version as early as next week. On its own version. So, as I said before, the Senate is going to pass the budget. They got their own budget plan, which is an establishment plan. So we shouldn't go with the Senate plan. We should go with the House plan. So the Just the News is reporting House to vote on its version as early as next week. And then they were already putting up the bad press to the House. Oh, why are they taking so long? Oh, they have more members. Why is it taking them so long? And so the Senate is running to the finish line. Trump, if you're out there, if you're listening, don't go with the Senate bill. Go with the House bill. And I haven't even seen the House bill yet. So why? Because McConnell pledges to spend remaining years in its Senate attending to unfinished business. And what is that unfinished business? That unfinished business is resisting Donald Trump. Politico is reporting out goes Mitch McConnell and an era of GOP politics, referring to the establishment. So the Senate is almost MAGA. Need another election cycle and we're good. And everybody knows that. And so the last ditch effort is coming through the Senate. Mitch McConnell is going to spearhead for the establishment. And it's already the unsettling is beginning. So the National Review also reports 3 buses explode in suspected terrorist attack in Israel. So who controls Islamic terror? Okay, the Israelis. Who else? The CIA. And so the destabilization is going to begin. And it was going to begin with more school shootings, but Kash Patel got voted in. And now the FBI had to give up its mind control plan to have 2 girls shoot up a school. So, and if you looked at the plan, it sounds just like Columbine. So it's good. They were going around full circle from 98? When was Columbine? All the way to now. So in any case, getting back to the Middle East, it's probably Hamas or Hezbollah, one of them, attacking. Now Netanyahu could see, this was Iran or whatever. And the CIA can use it to destabilize Trump. We got to, when things are moving too fast, we have to do something violent, high profile. All right, let's keep going with the news here. Fox News, frustrated Chicago residents fed up with spending on illegal immigrants call for Republican leadership. Wow, Chicago. The group Chicago Flips Red has been active in pushing for the GOP to take over the traditionally blue city. Imagine that. Imagine if there was an awakening of the black community in Chicago. Or just, wouldn't it be great if it was the whole country for people to go, oh yeah, truth and freedom. That's all you need. If you have the information, the truth, and then you have the freedom, the physical freedom to act it out, to act on that information, the truthful information, you can be prosperous. All right. Where is the media now? BJ Media is reporting Tom Hanks, Margaret Brennan, and the European ministers reveal it all by Victor Davis Hanson. Now, we all like VDH. I'm sorry, I'm being presumptuous. I like VDH. He's very insightful. And so what does he talk about in this? I don't think I have the text. So he basically talks about Tom Hanks, Margaret Brennan, and the European ministers reflect where the leftist establishment, global establishment is. So Tom Hanks, if you didn't know, on NSL, Saturday Night Live, on Black Jeopardy, that bit, played a stupid MAGA guy, stupid racist MAGA guy, you know, bringing up the old tropes because they have to teach people. Then you have Margaret Brennan trying to historically infer on Marco Rubio that J.D. Vance's speech to the European ministers evokes Hitler or something like that, or is reminiscent of Hitler and the Nazis, whatever, saying free speech resulted in the genocide of the Jews. And then you had the European ministers sit there agape, looking at J.D. Vance, can't believe what he's saying. And what he was saying was, we know about your planned technocracy that is going to involve a great deal of authoritarian censorship. And that's not what people want. And that's not what the founders of liberal society, because originally it came from liberty. Now it just, you know, refers to spending. But the libertarianism around the world, everybody wants to be free and they want to be told the truth, and then they can act accordingly. So what do Tom Hanks and Margaret Brennan and the European ministers want to do? They want to mischaracterize reality and then reinforce it by bullying you. And then if you talk back, smack, you get censored. Right. Next up, post-millennial. Speaking of J.D. Vance, and if you didn't see the CPAC was good. Like I said, there was Javier Milei with Elon Musk and the chainsaw. That was a good bit. But also J.D. Vance, we're fighting for you. J.D. Vance tells young men at CPAC to buck broken culture opposed to masculinity. Don't allow this broken culture to send you a message that you're a bad person. And this goes back to the whole white thing. Anti-whiteism or whatever. It's all the same thing, whether you're a man, particularly if you're a straight white man, so cisgender white man, Caucasian male, you're the one to be denigrated, and everybody else is risen above you or heralded. So black, female, lesbian. That's how Corinne Jean-Pierre got to her pinnacle. So, or whatever. But in any case, and that's why Andrew Tate and all these guys, they got, even Jordan Peterson, they come up and they go, oh, you know, let a man be a man. You know, it doesn't matter in what context people like that, or young white men like that, because they feel lost and discarded and all this shit. The Federalist. Oh, I thought I nixed this article. But is it important? Wyoming sees flurry of election integrity bills, but time is running out. I wanted to compare that to what's going on in Wisconsin. Yes, I still have that article. Okay, so Wyoming, I mean, it's a very rural state, right? So in any case, Republican states are, and you have to hurry because you want to do it before the next election, make sure, like in Florida, that any avenues for voter fraud or election fraud are eliminated. The blue states want to keep that shit in. So in Wisconsin, they have the Supreme Court battle, which revolves around redistricting districts, which will, if the Democrats are allowed, will allow them to get districts, and which means in the next congressional race, the midterms in 2 years, that they'll take back the House. So, but the Republicans are hitting back in Wisconsin, and they're saying It's not just the redistricting. That's what PBS will tell you, or NPR. It's other things. Like the Republican bills, they've been putting up bills left and right, and the Supreme Court knocks them down just on voter integrity. And redistricting was one of the things they were fighting. So the election of the Supreme Court will make it a supermajority Democrat, which means that they will strike down all the cases that come to them regarding election integrity. Then everyone magically will be elected Democrat, and that'll change the majority in the House of Representatives in Washington. So group backed by Musk pours money into ad on behalf of GOP candidate in Wisconsin Supreme Court case. So this is very important because they can have their donors, and because Elon Musk is out in public, that he's getting a lot more flack than, say, what George Soros would get, because George Soros was in the shadows with his hooded robe. But Elon Musk is out there, and then he's talking smack. So, hey, he's acting within the law, but the Democrats have already done this. Even though he acts within the law, they've said, look, he has no right. That's debatable. Couple more stories here from Zero Hedge. Another undersea fiber optic cable damaged in Baltic Sea as incidents pile up. So, you didn't know, Russia and China are preparing for war. The United States wasn't. I hope they are now. So this is one incident. If we go on to the next incident from Zero Hedge, speaking of piling up, and if you didn't know, there have been several fiber optic cables in the Baltic Sea that have been cut since the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And then, of course, there was the Nord Stream pipeline was also blown up. So there's a lot of sabotage going on there. Zero Hedge reports also that Australia alarmed over the unusual movement of 3 Chinese warships off the coast. Communist China and Russia are preparing for war. We don't know what their plans are. I would imagine if Trump's taken out, they'll move. Well, that wasn't bad. That was like half an hour. Thanks for joining me today, though. Have a great weekend. Remember, you're under attack psychologically and biologically. Engage my channel, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share the podcast. Check out, link in the description, Liberty merch. I have a link to the Alex Jones store. If you go through my link, I get a couple bucks. So join me every day, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. live streamed on Rumble. You can check me out on my other social media, Instagram, Getter, Minds, X, Truth Social, Facebook, Substack. Have a great weekend. Respect.
Order. The New World Order.
Conspiracy. Oh, that is a conspiracy.